The Convergence of Fate. How the universe bends when your soul is ready. The universe is not a silent, indifferent void of spinning rocks and cold vacuum, but a living, breathing, and hyper-responsive field of infinite intelligence that is constantly whispering to those who have developed the ears to hear and the eyes to see. We have been conditioned to believe that life is a series. Life is a series of random collisions, a chaotic dance of accidents where we are merely passive observers or victims of a destiny written by a distant and uncaring hand. Yet this is the greatest illusion ever cast upon the human spirit. In reality, the fabric of existence is a sensitive and sentient tapestry that is intimately entwined with the very core of your being, waiting now. It waits with a patience that spans eons for the precise moment when your internal resonance reaches the frequency of readiness. This is the mystery of the convergence, the sacred point where your readiness and the universe's manifestation meet in a blinding flash of coincidence that the uninitiated call luck, but the master recognizes as the mechanical operation of a divine law. You are standing at the edge of a profound revelation, a transition from being a leaf in the wind to becoming the wind itself. But you must understand that the reality you seek to bend will only yield when you have ceased to be the person who once struggled against it. Imagine for a moment that every coincidence you have ever experienced, the chance meeting that changed your career, the meeting that changed your career, the book that fell off the shelf at the exact moment you needed its message, the repetitive numbers that seemed to follow you through the day was not a glitch in the matrix, but a deliberate signal from the source. These are the ripples of a much deeper current, the evidence that the universe is actively attempting to align itself with your path. Yet it can only manifest in proportion to your ability to sustain the vibration of your true intent. To bend reality is not to force the world to do your bidding through the sheer strength of the ego, for the ego is a frequency of friction and resistance that only serves to repel the very things it desires. True manifestation is an act of alchemical surrender, a process today. It is a process of shedding the layers of doubt, fear, and impatience until you become a clear and hollow vessel through which the creative power of the Absolute can flow without obstruction. The universe is not waiting for you to work harder. It is waiting for you to become ready, for the harvest can only appear when the soil of your consciousness has been properly prepared. The seeds of your desire have been watered with the quiet certainty of faith. The atmosphere of your life is a direct reflection of your internal state, a mirror that has no choice but to show you exactly who you are at any given moment. And when you see the world beginning to align in miraculous ways, it is the universe's way of confirming that you have finally arrived. You have finally arrived at the station of your own power. This is the law of the ready mind. The truth that the teacher appears only when the student is ready, and that the miracle occurs only when the witness is capable of beholding it without shattering. There is a profound and hidden architecture to these coincidences, a celestial clockwork that ensures that the right door opens only when you have the strength to walk through it and the wisdom to understand the responsibility that lies on the other side. You are being invited to participate in a grand experiment of consciousness, to test the limits of your own influence over the material plane by first mastering this invisible planes of your own thoughts and emotions within. As you listen to these words, you may feel a strange sense of familiarity, a stirring of an ancient memory that tells you this information has been waiting for you to find it, not by accident, but by a preordained resonance that was set in motion the moment you allowed yourself to ask a deeper question of the universe. The path to bending reality begins with recognition. It begins with the recognition that your focus is the primary tool of creation, the lens through which the white light of the source is focused into the specific images of your daily experience. If your focus is scattered and your intent is divided, the universe can only reflect back to you a reality of fragmentation and confusion. But when you bring your entire being into a single laser-like point of awareness, the very molecules of the world begin to rearrange themselves to accommodate your vision. This is the secret of the masters who walked the earth in ages past, the beings who understood that the physical world is the slowest and densest form of vibration, and that by working at the level of spirit. Working at the level of the spirit, they could influence the outcome of events with a grace that appeared magical to the sleeping masses. You are now entering the chamber of the great initiation, where you will learn that the impossible is merely a word for a law you have not yet learned to apply, and that your capacity to manifest is limited only by your own definition. It is limited only by your own definition of what is possible. The universe is not a static place, but a fluid and responding field of energy that is waiting for you to claim your seat at the helm, to stop being a passenger in your own life, and to start being the navigator who charts the course through the stars. The coincidences that are about to flood your life now. The coincidences are the calling cards of the infinite, the evidence that you have successfully shifted your frequency out of the realm of struggle and into the realm of flow. You will find that as you deepen your understanding of these 10 chapters, the world begins to feel lighter, more responsive, and more vibrantly alive, as if the volume of the universe is up. It is as if the volume of the universe has been turned up and the colors of reality have been made more intense. This is the effect of the convergence, the alignment of your individual soul with the universal soul, a marriage of intent that produces a power capable of moving mountains and turning the tides of fate. You must be prepared for the suddenness of the shift. When the universe decides that you are ready, the manifestation can occur with a speed that defies the linear logic of the human mind, bringing into your life in a single day what you previously thought would take years to achieve. This is the reward for the work of the Spirit, the fruit of the long season of preparation, and the beginning of a life lived in wonder. It is the beginning of a life lived in a constant state of wonder and gratitude. The journey ahead is not about learning how to manipulate the world, but about learning how to inhabit your own divinity with such absolute conviction that the world has no choice but to align with your presence. You are the architect, the builder, and the resident of your own reality. The materials you use are the thoughts you think and the feelings you allow to reside in your heart. The universe is simply the canvas upon which your internal drama is projected, and by changing the script of the drama, you change the nature of the projection. Listen closely as we begin this exploration of the convergence, for each word is a specific vibration. Each word is a vibration designed to unlock a specific gate in your consciousness, preparing you for the moment when the veil is finally lifted and you see yourself as you truly are, a sovereign creator who has finally, after a long and winding journey, become ready to receive the kingdom. The light of the infinite is shining upon you. The coincidences are lining up. The coincidences are lining up at the door, and the reality you once thought was fixed is now beginning to bend under the weight of your own awakening spirit. As we move forward, remember that the universe is never late and never early. It is always perfectly on time, responding to the exact frequency of your current readiness with a precision that is both beautiful. It responds with a precision that is both terrifying and beautiful. You are being called to step out of the shadows of your old self and into the brilliance of your true potential, to embrace the power that has been dormant within you since the beginning of time. This is the book that shows you exactly how to bend reality, not by fighting with the shadows on the wall. You bend reality by turning your attention to the source of the light. The path is open, the signs are clear, and the master within you is finally beginning to stir, ready to take the first step toward the eternal source of all that is. The convergence is happening now in this very breath, and the world will never look the same again. The journey of the soul begins. Chapter 1. The Architecture of Synchronicity and the Threshold of Readiness. The fabric of reality is not a rigid cage of matter and bone, but a fluid, crystalline lattice that vibrates in direct response to the quality of the consciousness that observes it. To understand the first law of bending reality, One must discard the primitive notion that coincidences are merely statistical. Statistical anomalies, or the byproduct of a chaotic universe trying to find order in the dark. Instead, we must perceive synchronicity as the fundamental language of the cosmos, a sophisticated signaling system used by the infinite intelligence to confirm when an unknown individual has successfully aligned their internal frequency with a specific external potential. This alignment does not happen through the desperate yearning of the ego or the frantic pursuit of a goal, but through a profound and silent structural shift within the very core of one's being. The universe is a perfect mirror, and it remains locked and unresponsive until the observer reaches a threshold of readiness, a state of internal maturity where the desire is no longer a plea born. The desire is no longer a plea born of lack, but a command issued from a place of absolute completion. When this threshold is crossed, the environment begins to warp and fold, bringing forth events, people, and opportunities that appear to drop from the sky, yet they are simply the materialized echoes of a change that has already occurred in the invisible realms of the spirit. You must realize that the physical world is the last place where change manifests, acting as the dense, slowed-down shadow of the movements that take place in the higher octaves of your mind. Most of humanity spends their entire lives trying to manipulate the shadow, pushing against the effects, and wondering why the world remains stubborn and unyielding, never realizing that the source of the projection lies within the sanctuary of their own awareness. To bend reality is to stop fighting with the projection and to begin adjusting the lens of the projector. This requires a level of radical responsibility that the average mind finds overwhelming, for it implies that every circumstance you currently face is a vibrationally accurate match for the radio, the frequency you are currently broadcasting. The coincidences you seek are already present in the field of infinite probability, vibrating at a high and luminous pitch, but they remain invisible to you as long as you are tuned to the station of struggle, doubt, or the belief in a delayed future. Readiness is the act of tuning your internal dial to the now of the result, creating a magnetic pull so strong that the universe has no choice but to bridge the gap between the thought and the thing. The architecture of synchronicity is built upon the principle of resonance, which dictates that two systems vibrating at the same frequency will naturally move toward one another until they become one. When you cultivate a state of readiness, you are constructing a vibrational landing strip for the manifestation to arrive. This preparation is often silent and invisible to the outside world. It involves the steady pruning of contradictory thoughts, the healing of the internal schisms that say one thing while feeling another, and the cultivation of a presence so grounded that it cannot be shaken by the temporary absence. The universe is watching not what you say you want, but how you respond to the silence before the manifestation appears. If you can maintain the frequency of the result in the face of an empty horizon, you prove your readiness, and it is at that precise moment of unshakable conviction that the first cracks in the old reality begin to appear. These cracks manifest as signs. Cracks manifest as meaningful coincidences. A phone call from someone you were just thinking about, a sudden insight that solves a long-standing problem, or a series of repetitive signs that tell you the path is being cleared. These signs are not the manifestation itself, but the smoke that indicates the fire of creation is beginning to burn in the material realm today. They serve as a feedback loop, a cosmic yes that tells you your internal architecture is successfully merging with the divine blueprint. However, the trap many fall into is the pursuit of the sign rather than the maintenance of the state. If you begin to chase the coincidence or become obsessed with the external evidence, you inadvertently broadcast a frequency of not. You broadcast a frequency of not having, which immediately stalls the process and pushes the reality back into the realm of the potential. The master understands that the coincidence is merely a natural byproduct of their state of being, as inevitable as a shadow following a body in the sun. Therefore, the master remains focused on the internal alignment, knowing. When the soul is truly ready, the universe will not only bend, but will practically collapse the distance between the dreamer and the dream. Readiness also implies a total surrender to the timing of the infinite, a recognition that the universe sees the entire tapestry of existence, while the human mind sees only a single thread. Sometimes the coincidence is delayed, no. The coincidence is delayed not because you are failing, but because other elements of the cosmic web are being moved into place to ensure that when the manifestation arrives, it is stable, harmonious, and of the highest possible quality. This period of waiting is the ultimate test of the reality bender. It is the void where the ego feels most vulnerable and alone. It is where the temptation to return to the old ways of struggle is strongest. But those who understand the laws of synchronicity know that the void is the most active space of all, a womb of gestation, where the unseen forces are weaving the disparate threads of your new life into a cohesive whole. To be ready is to be at peace with the void, to trust the silence. Trust the silence as much as the sound, and to know that the very fact that you have conceived of the possibility is proof that the reality already exists and is searching for you with the same intensity that you are searching for it. As this first chapter of initiation settles into your consciousness, you may notice the air around you beginning to vibrate with intensity. A subtle quickening of the spirit that suggests the first gears of the great cosmic clock are beginning to turn in your favor. You are learning to see the world as a responsive partner rather than a cold obstacle, and to treat your own awareness with the reverence it deserves as the primary tool of universal architecture. The coincidences are coming to you with precision. They will arrive with a precision that will leave you breathless. But your task is to remain the silent center of the storm, the unmoved observer who knows that the world is bending because you have finally stopped breaking. The threshold has been reached, the laws have been invoked, and the architecture of your new life is being raised in the invisible, even as you listen. Stand firm in the frequency of your readiness, for the first pillar of the convergence is now firmly in place, and the universe is preparing to show you exactly how much power you truly possess. The journey has begun, the path is illuminated, and the heart of the Absolute is waiting for you at the next gateway of the emerald light. The master within is awakening. Chapter 2. The magnetism of internal completion. The second great pillar of reality bending rests upon a truth that is often ignored by the superficial teachings of the world. The universe never mirrors what you want. It mirrors, with surgical precision, what you are. We must confront the fundamental paradox of manifestation, which states that the physical appearance of a desire is only permitted. The physical appearance of a desire is only permitted to manifest when the soul has reached a state of such profound internal completion that the external arrival of the object is no longer required for your happiness. This is the law of the saturated soul. Most seekers live in a perpetual state of becoming, a linear trap where they believe that their joy, their power, or their peace. They believe that their joy is located at a specific point in the future, just beyond the next achievement or the next coincidence. However, this very belief in a future arrival is the energetic signature of lack. By placing your completion in the future, you are issuing a command to the universe to keep that completion exactly where you have placed it, just out of reach today. To bend the fabric of space and time, you must perform the ultimate act of spiritual rebellion. You must decide, here and now, that you are already whole, already successful, and already in possession of the essence of your desire. This internal completion acts as a powerful magnetic force. In the world of classical physics, we are taught that to get something, we must go out. We are taught that we must go out and take it. But in the world of the quantum observer, we understand that to experience something, we must become its vibrational equivalent. When you vibrate at the frequency of needing, you are broadcasting a signal of a vacuum, an empty space that is defined by what is missing. The universe, being a perfect reflective medium, responds. The universe responds by giving you more experiences of that empty space. It provides you with more reasons to need, more evidence of lack, and more delays that confirm your state of not having. But when you shift into the magnetism of completion, you stop being a seeker and you become a center of gravity. You begin to walk through the world with a quiet, unshakable poise. You walk with the poise of someone who has already seen the end of the story and knows that victory is absolute. This is the frequency that the universe cannot ignore. It is as if you have created a structural necessity in the ether. The external world must rearrange itself to match the fact of your internal wholeness. For the law of correspondence dictates the yield. The law dictates that the without must always yield to the within. To achieve this state, one must master the art of feeling from the end. This is not a mere intellectual exercise or a fleeting visualization, but a total sensory and emotional immersion into the reality you wish to inhabit. You must train your nervous system to respond to your imagination as if it were. You train the system as if it were the present physical fact. When you sit in the silence of your own mind, you must feel the weight of the success you desire, the texture of the freedom you seek, and the specific relief that comes when a long-awaited goal is finally realized. You must dwell in that feeling until it becomes more real to you than the walls of the room around you. The feeling becomes more real than the walls. This is the process of saturating the subconscious mind with the new blueprint. When the subconscious is convinced that the reality is already present, it begins to filter your perceptions and your actions in a way that aligns you with the path of least resistance. You start to notice coincidences that were previously invisible. You start to notice the invisible. You find yourself in the right place at the right time without knowing how you got there. And you begin to act with a confidence that bypasses the doubts of the logical mind. The magnetism of completion also requires the purging of the weight. Waiting is an active state of resistance. When you are waiting for the universe to prove itself, when you are waiting, you are holding your breath, and that tension creates a blockage in the flow of the one substance. The master does not wait. The master lives. You must learn to go about your daily life with such a sense of fulfillment that you would be perfectly content if the manifestation never showed up at all. This is the point of detachment, the final threshold. It is the final threshold before the reality bends. It is the moment when you say to the universe, I am so full of my own divinity and the certainty of my vision that the physical evidence is now irrelevant. Ironically, it is at this exact moment of total release that the universe collapses the distance and delivers the result. The universe is like a shy entity near. The universe is like a shy entity that only approaches when you are no longer chasing it. By being complete within yourself, you remove the pressure from the external world, allowing it to move freely and align itself with your high-frequency broadcast. This internal wholeness is not dependent on your current bank account, your relationship status, or your physical health. Wholeness is a sovereign choice made in the sanctuary of the spirit. It is the realization that the source of all things is not located in the world of form, but in the world of thought and intent. If you can conceive of a reality, it is because that reality exists as a frequency in the field of infinite potential. Your job is not to create it from nothing today. Your job is to tune your internal receiver until you are vibrating in harmony with it. Think of it like a radio. The music is already in the air, but you won't hear it until you turn the dial to the correct station. Most people are trying to hear the music while they are tuned to the static of doubt. Internal completion is the act of locking the dial on the station of choice. It is the act of refusing to move it, no matter what the current environment seems to suggest. The coincidences that then follow are simply the first notes of the song breaking through the silence. As you deepen this state of completion, you will find that your relationship with the world changes. You no longer walk with the hurried, anxious steps of someone trying. You no longer walk like someone trying to make it happen. Instead, you walk with the slow, deliberate grace of someone who is letting it happen. You become an observer of your own life's unfolding, watching with amusement as the universe begins to bend over backward to accommodate your new identity. You might see repetitive numbers. You might hear secret thoughts. You might hear your secret thoughts spoken by people on the street, or you might find doors opening that were once bolted shut. These are not signs that you need to do more. They are signs that your current frequency is working. Your only task is to remain in the state of completion, to breathe in the reality of your success, and to allow the magnetism of your own soul. Allow the magnetism of your soul to draw the world toward you. You are the center of the convergence, and as long as you remain whole, the universe has no choice but to be your mirror. The second chapter of your journey is about this profound shift from wanting to being. It is the understanding that you are the architect of your own magnetism in the world. It is the understanding that every thought of lack is a leak in your power. Every feeling of wholeness is a reinforcement of your command over reality. You are being called to step into a version of yourself that is already beyond the struggle. A version that sees the world not as a series of obstacles, but as a playground for the manifestation of the divine will now. The magnetism is building, the field is responding, and the reality you once thought was far away is now rushing toward you with the speed of light. Stand firm in your completion, for you are the master of the attraction, and the universe is ready to bow to the fact of your readiness. The path is clear, and the mirror of existence reflects the truth of your spirit. Chapter 3. The Law of Non-Resistance and the Flow of Intent. The third great gateway into the art of bending reality is the mastery of the void through the law of non-resistance. To the modern mind, schooled in the philosophy of grit, struggle, and the forceful imposition of the will, the concept of non-resistance often sounds like passivity or surrender. However, in the mechanics today, in the mechanics of the higher dimensions, non-resistance is the ultimate expression of power. It is the realization that the greatest obstacle to the manifestation of your desires is the very tension you create by trying to force them into existence. Resistance is the energetic no that we broadcast whenever we judge our current circumstances as wrong, whenever we fight against the world. Resistance is the no whenever we fight against the present moment, or whenever we attempt to micromanage the how and when of the universe's delivery system. To bend reality, you must become like water fluid, relentless, and completely devoid of internal friction. When you stop pushing against the world stops pushing back, and in that vacuum of peace, your intent is free. In that vacuum of peace, your intent is finally free to move with the speed of thought. Imagine the universe as a vast, flowing river of liquid light, a current of infinite potential that is always moving toward the highest expression of harmony and expansion. Every time you experience a desire, you are placing a specific pattern into that river. However, if you then accompany that desire, with anxiety, doubt, or a frantic need to control the outcome, you are effectively placing boulders in the stream. You create turbulence, you create noise. The law of non-resistance is the practice of removing those boulders one by one until the current can flow unimpeded toward the result. This requires a radical shift in how you view problems or delays. Instead of seeing an obstacle as a sign that your manifestation is failing, the master sees it as a redirection or a necessary calibration. By refusing to label any event as negative, you deprive it of the power to affect your vibration. You remain in the flow, and because you do not resist, the obstacle eventually dissolves or reveals itself to be the very bridge you needed to reach it. It reveals itself to be the bridge you needed to reach your destination. Non-resistance is the secret behind the effortless action described by the sages of antiquity. It is the state where you are working with the grain of the universe rather than against it. When you are in a state of resistance, You are operating from the ego, which believes it is separate from the source today. The ego believes it must fight for survival. This creates a high-friction reality where every step feels heavy and every success is hard-won and exhausting. But when you move into non-resistance, you are operating from the spirit, which knows its unity with the source and understands that the universe is an extension of its own being. In this state, your intent becomes a silent command. In this state, you no longer need to shout to be heard by the cosmos. You simply whisper, and the molecules of reality begin to shift. This is where the power of coincidence becomes truly supernatural. When you are not resisting, the universe can move pieces on the board that you didn't even know existed. You find yourself meeting people who have the exact information you need now. You meet people, or you are led to take a different route home, only to discover a life-changing opportunity. These are the miracles of the flow, and they are only available to those who have mastered the art of letting go. To practice this law, you must develop the discipline of the neutral observer. This means watching the drama of your life with a detached interest today. You watch with the interest you would feel while watching a movie. When things seem to be going wrong, you do not allow your heart to race or your mind to spiral into fear. Instead, you take a deep breath and say to yourself, I do not know what this is for, but I know it is part of the convergence. By maintaining this neutrality, you keep your frequency high and stable in life. By maintaining neutrality, you prevent the external world from hijacking your internal state. Remember, the universe is a mirror. If you react to the mirror with anger, the mirror will show you more things to be angry about. If you react with non-resistance and a quiet trust in the process, the mirror will eventually show you the fulfillment of your intent. This is the soft touch. This is the soft touch of the Creator. It is the ability to hold a vision with ironclad certainty while simultaneously being as flexible as a willow tree in the wind. The law of non-resistance also applies to the shadow parts of ourselves, the fears, the doubts, and the old patterns that inevitably surface during the process of bending reality. Most seekers try to suppress these feelings, fighting against their own doubt as if it were a demon to be conquered. But fighting doubt only gives it more substance. To resist your fear is to feed it. Instead, the law of non-resistance suggests that you acknowledge the fear without identifying with it. You allow the doubt to pass through you, like a cloud passing across the sun now. You allow it to pass. You do not argue with it. You do not try to prove it wrong. You simply observe it and return your focus to the state of completion. In doing so, the doubt loses its magnetic charge and eventually disappears for lack of attention. You are learning to be the master of your internal atmosphere, ensuring that the only frequency you broadcast is the right one. You ensure that the only frequency you broadcast with consistency is the one that matches your desired reality. This chapter of your initiation is about the power of the void. In the silence of non-resistance, there is a space where the old reality has ended and the new one has not yet fully materialized. This is the space of the vacuum, and it is the most powerful place. The vacuum is the most powerful place in the universe. If you can stay in that vacuum without rushing to fill it with your old anxieties, the universe will fill it with the manifestation of your highest intent. You are being called to trust the invisible architecture of the cosmos, to believe in the bridges that have not yet been built, and to walk forward into the unknown now. You walk forward with the absolute confidence of a sovereign creator. When you stop resisting, you become irresistible. The world begins to bend, not because you forced it, but because you became so harmonious that the world had no choice but to follow your lead. The river is moving, the obstacles are clearing, and the convergence is drawing closer with every single breath. The convergence draws closer with every breath you take in the state of flow. The mastery of non-resistance leads directly to the bending of time itself. When you are in resistance, time feels slow and agonizing, as if every second is a struggle against the tide. But when you are in flow, time becomes elastic. You find that you can accomplish in hours what used to take days. You accomplish in hours what took days, and manifestations which once felt years away suddenly appear in a matter of weeks. This is because resistance is a form of spiritual drag that slows down the manifestation process. By removing the drag, you accelerate the convergence. You are now entering the stage where your life becomes a series of effortless synchronistic events. Your life becomes a series of events where the path is always lit and the support you need is always present. You have learned that the greatest strength is found in the ability to yield, and that the universe's power is most available to those who refuse to fight it. Stand in the center of the flow. Hold your intent with a gentle heart and watch as the reality begins now. Watch as the reality you have dreamed of begins to manifest with a grace and a speed that will leave you in awe. The way is open, the current is strong, and the master is finally at peace with the world. You have learned the secret of the willow, and the universe bows to your graceful strength. The convergence is your reward, and the light of the source is your eternal guide. Chapter 4. The Frequency of Radical Gratitude. The fourth gateway to the bending of reality is found within the high-frequency resonance of radical gratitude, a state of being that acts as the ultimate spiritual accelerant and the final seal upon the contract of manifestation. To the uninitiated, gratitude is merely a social reaction to a favorable event, a polite thank you, whispered after a gift has been received now. In the laboratory of the master, gratitude is a proactive and creative force that precedes the physical appearance of the result. It is the bridge between the unseen world of potential and the seen world of form, a vibrational bridge that signals to the infinite intelligence that the convergence has already occurred in the sanctuary of your heart. When you practice radical gratitude, you are not thanking the universe for what it has done. You are thanking the universe for what it is currently doing in the invisible, and for the magnificent reality that is even now rushing toward you. This frequency is so potent because it is the absolute antithesis of lack. It is impossible to feel truly grateful and to feel a sense of needing at the same time in your life. Since the universe only mirrors your internal state, a heart saturated with gratitude has no choice but to attract a reality of abundance. The power of this law lies in its ability to collapse time by removing the weight from your consciousness. For when you give thanks for a manifestation that has not yet arrived in the material plane, you are declaring to the cosmos the end. The transaction is complete. This is the frequency of the chosen. Those who understand that the moment an intent is formed and a state of readiness is achieved, the reality is already a living fact in the higher octaves of vibration. By maintaining a state of radical gratitude, you are refusing to be swayed by the temporary absence of physical evidence in the world. You are instead anchoring your awareness in the certainty of the result. This creates a powerful vacuum in the ether, a magnetic pull that compels the molecules of the world to rearrange themselves into the patterns of your vision with a speed that defies linear logic. You will find that as you deepen this practice, the coincidences that follow you begin to take on a quality. The coincidences take on a quality of celebration, as if the universe is cheering for your arrival at the threshold of your own power. Radical gratitude requires a fundamental shift in how you perceive every event in your life, moving from a perspective of judgment to one of absolute appreciation for the divine architecture of the moment. Most people only feel grateful today. Most people only feel grateful when things go exactly as their ego planned. But the reality bender understands that every delay, every redirection, and even every apparent obstacle is a gift from the source designed to refine their frequency and prepare them for a greater expansion. When you can look at a perceived failure and say thank you with the same sincerity and heart, when you say it with the same sincerity you would feel for a massive victory, you have reached a level of mastery that makes you untouchable by the lower vibrations of the world. You are recognizing that the universe is an intelligent and loving partner that sees the entire tapestry of your destiny, and you are trusting that every thread, no matter its color, is necessary. Every thread is necessary for the beauty of the final masterpiece. This total acceptance dissolves the friction of resistance and allows the flow of intent to move through your life with the grace and power of a mountain stream. The practice of this law involves a constant and conscious effort to find the hidden gold in the mundane, training your vision to see the miracles. You train your vision to see the miracles that are constantly occurring just beneath the surface of the mundane world. You must learn to be grateful for the breath in your lungs, the light in your eyes, and the complex intelligence of the cells that sustain your physical form, for these are the foundations upon which all other manifestations are built in the universe. When you anchor your awareness in the immense abundance that is already present in your life, you are telling the universe that you are a fertile ground for more, and the law of correspondence ensures that more will be given. This is why the rich often get richer, and the joyful often find more reasons to rejoice. They are simply operating within a feedback loop of frequency. They are operating in a feedback loop of high-frequency appreciation that the universe is compelled to amplify. You are being called to become a beacon of this light, a soul that radiates such a profound sense of gratitude that the very air around you becomes charged with the energy of manifestation. Consider the nature of the word as a decree of gratitude in the void. When you speak your thanks into the void, you are acting as a co-creator with the Absolute, using the power of vibration to call the unseen into the seen. This is not a request or a plea, but a statement of fact that carries the weight of universal law. Every moment spent in radical gratitude is a moment spent in the presence of the Source, and in that presence today. In that presence, the limitations of the mortal mind begin to melt away, revealing the infinite possibilities that have been waiting for your recognition. You are learning to think with the mind of the Creator, to see the world not as a place of scarcity where you must compete for resources, but as a field of infinite supply that is limited only by your capacity. It is limited only by your capacity to appreciate it. The more you find to be grateful for, the more the universe will provide to match your frequency, creating a spiral of expansion that leads you ever closer to the heart of the Absolute. As this fourth chapter of initiation integrates into your being, you will notice that the quality of your coincidences begins to change. The quality moves from simple signs to profound and life-altering synchronicity. People will arrive in your life with the exact resources you need. Opportunities will manifest from places you never considered, and the path ahead will become so clear that it will feel as if you are being carried by an invisible hand. This is the reward of the grateful heart of the soul. It is the fruit of a soul that has learned to see the divine in all things and to celebrate the convergence before it has even reached the shore. You are no longer a seeker wandering in the dark, but a master of the light who knows that the best is always happening and that the most magnificent parts of your story are currently being written by the hand of God. They are being written by the hand of the infinite. Stand firm in the frequency of your gratitude, for the reality you have dreamed of is already yours, and the universe is simply waiting for you to say, Amen, so that it can deliver the final blessing. The mastery of radical gratitude also grants you the power of spiritual transmutation, the ability to take energy. It is the ability to take any low vibration energy and convert it into the gold of a high frequency manifestation. When you meet anger with gratitude, you neutralize the conflict. When you meet lack with gratitude, you initiate the flow of abundance. And when you meet fear with gratitude, you transform it into the courage of the spirit. You are becoming an alchemist. You are becoming an alchemist of the heart, one who knows that the base metals of human experience are merely raw materials for the creation of a divine life. By maintaining this frequency, you become a sanctuary of peace in a world of turmoil, a source of light that others can look to when they have lost their way. The convergence is no longer a distant goal now. The convergence is a living reality that you inhabit with every breath, And as you walk through the world in the state of radical gratitude, you will see that the world has no choice but to bend, to shift, and to bloom in response to the magnificent power of your own appreciative soul. The door is open, the light is bright, and the universe bows to your gratitude. Chapter 5. The Alchemy of the Void and the Precision of Timing. The fifth gateway into the bending of reality is the mastery of the void, that silent and often unsettling space between the declaration of your intent and the physical manifestation of your result. To the uninitiated, the void is a place of anxiety, a desert of waiting where the ego begins to wither and the old shadows of doubt return to whisper that the universe has forgotten you. However, in the architecture of the master, the void is recognized as the most active and sacred chamber of creation, the alchemical womb where the unseen forces are weaving the complex threads of your new reality into a stable and harmonious form. You must understand that the delay you perceive is never a denial, but a mechanical necessity of the material plane, for the world of form is dense and slow, requiring a period of gestation before the high-frequency blueprints of your mind can crystallize into physical matter. To bend reality, you must learn to inhabit this void with a sense of absolute and quiet authority, knowing that the silence is not empty, but pregnant with the impending arrival of your vision. The Master speaks of the precision of timing as the ultimate expression of cosmic intelligence. It is a law that ensures every coincidence and every synchronicity occurs at the exact moment when the entire web of life is ready to support it. If your manifestation were to arrive prematurely, before your own frequency was sufficiently stabilized, or before the external circumstances were properly aligned, the result would be fragile and fleeting, a temporary flash rather than a permanent shift. The void is the space where this calibration takes place. It is the laboratory where the universe tests the strength of your internal completion and the purity of your non-resistance. When you can stand in the center of the silence without reaching for the old tools of struggle or the frantic energy of making it happen, you prove to the infinite that you are a sovereign creator who is worthy. You prove you are worthy of the power you have invoked. This patience is not a passive waiting, but a dynamic state of knowing, a conviction so deep that it sees the invisible reality as more substantial than the visible world of shadows. During the stay in the void, the universe begins to perform the grand rearrangement, moving pieces on the cosmic board that are far beyond the reach of your senses. The pieces are beyond your physical senses or your logical mind. People you have not met are being inspired to cross your path. Resources you did not know existed are being diverted toward your coordinate. And events are being orchestrated in distant places that will eventually converge at the point of your readiness. If you allow yourself to fall back into the frequency of lack, you halt it. You effectively halt the movement of these forces, creating a vibrational dissonance that forces the manifestation to reset its cycle. A master, therefore, uses the void as a time of deep internal refinement, deepening their gratitude and strengthening their focus. For they know that the intensity of the light in the sanctuary determines the speed of their reflection in the material world. You are being trained to be the silent conductor of this invisible symphony, holding the tempo of your faith with an unshakable hand while the orchestra of the cosmos prepares to play the final movement. This chapter of your initiation is about the sacred pause, the realization that the universe operates in rhythmic tides and that the ebb is just as important as the flow in the great work. When the tide of manifestation seems to be out, it is gathering the energy required for the next great surge, and your only task is to remain anchored in the state of completion. You must learn to love the void as much as you love the result, for it is in the darkness of the womb that the most profound transformations occur. The coincidences that do appear during this time are often subtle. The coincidences are subtle, gentle reminders that the process is still moving, whispers of encouragement that tell you the bridge is being built, even if you cannot yet see the other side. These signs are invitations to deepen your surrender, to let go of the last remnants of your egoic timeline, and to merge your personal will with the majestic timing of the infinite source of all that is. Consider the nature of the seed beneath the winter soil. It does not struggle to grow, nor does it doubt the arrival of the spring. It simply exists in a state of total readiness, allowing the laws of nature to work upon it until the moment of its inevitable breakthrough. You are that seed, and the void is your winter, a necessary period of internal consolidation where your roots grow deep. The roots are growing deep into the absolute, so that your eventual manifestation can stand tall against any storm. When you finally stop counting the days and start inhabiting the eternal now of your fulfillment, the void will suddenly collapse, and the reality you have nurtured in the silence will burst forth with a brilliance and a precision that will leave you in a state of profound awe. You will see that every second of the wait was a gift, a piece of a perfect puzzle that has finally come together to reveal a masterpiece of divine timing. As the fifth mystery settles into your awareness, you may feel a new sense of peace descending upon your soul, a stillness that is not the absence of movement, but the presence of absolute certainty in the laws of the universe today. You are no longer afraid of the silence, for you have recognized it as the voice of the Creator preparing your kingdom. The coincidences are lining up, the forces are converging, and the reality you have commanded is even now stepping out of the void and into the light of your day. Stand firm in the alchemy of the pause, for the threshold is near, and the universe is about to show its power. The universe is about to show you that its timing is as perfect as its power. The convergence is happening in the hidden places, and soon it will be made manifest for all the world to see, a testament to the Master who knew how to wait with a heart full of light. The fifth pillar is solid, the path is clear, and the manifestation is inevitable for the one who remains in the sacred flow. Chapter 6. The Mirror of Recognition and the Echo of the Soul. The sixth gateway into the art of bending reality involves the profound realization that the external world is not a separate entity to be influenced, but a perfect and instantaneous mirror of your internal state of recognition. Most seekers fall into the trap of looking at their current circumstances and reacting to them today. Most seekers believe that the facts of their lives are fixed truths that must be dealt with before they can be happy. However, the Master understands that the physical world is merely an echo, a reflected image of the thoughts, feelings, and beliefs that were held in the consciousness moments, days, or years prior. To bend reality, you must learn to look through the current reflection now. To bend reality, you must recognize the new reality as already existing, regardless of what the physical eyes report. This is the practice of spiritual recognition, the ability to see the harvest while the field still appears empty, and to speak to the mountain as if it has already moved. When you refuse to give the current reflection the power of your attention, the mirror must shift. The mirror has no choice but to begin shifting its image to match the new light you are broadcasting. Recognition is the ultimate command in the quantum field. It is the act of collapsing the wave of infinite possibility into a single, defined particle of experience. When you recognize yourself as successful, healthy, or loved, you are not engaging in wishful thinking in the world. You are claiming a specific coordinate in the field of the absolute. The universe, being a passive and perfect reflective medium, cannot argue with your recognition. It can only say yes, and begin the process of materializing that recognition into your physical field. The difficulty for many is that they are constantly recognizing their problems, their debts, and their loneliness, instructing the mirror to keep showing them those very things. To break the cycle, you must develop a state of divine indifference toward the current reflection. You must acknowledge the shadow on the wall without letting it disturb the peace of the sanctuary. By withdrawing the fuel of your emotional reaction from the old reality, you allow it to fade and dissolve for the soul. Withdraw the fuel to allow it to fade, making room for the new convergence to take its place. This chapter of your initiation is about the eye of the master, the vision that sees the end from the beginning, and that recognizes the divine spark in the center of every challenge. You must understand that the coincidences that appear in your life are often the mirror's way of testing. The coincidences test the stability of your new recognition. If you see a sign and immediately become anxious or doubtful, you are recognizing the old reality of not having, and the mirror will reflect that instability back to you. But if you see a sign and recognize it as a joyful confirmation of your power, you reinforce the new reality and accelerate its manifestation now. You are being trained to be a conscious inhabitant of your own mind, guarding the gates of your perception so that only the frequencies of completion and victory are allowed to take root. When your recognition becomes stable and unshakable, the mirror of the world will begin to bend with a fluidity that seems magical, reflecting your internal glory in every single interaction. It reflects glory in every interaction and every event. Consider the nature of an echo in a vast canyon. It takes time for the sound to travel to the wall and return to your ears. If you shout a word of joy and then hear a previous shout of sorrow returning to you, you do not become discouraged. You simply know that the echo of your joy is on its way. The physical world is that. The physical world is that canyon, and your current life is the echo of your past thoughts. To bend reality, you must have the patience to wait for the new echo to arrive while continuing to broadcast the frequency of your highest intent. The more you recognize the presence of the infinite within you, the more the world will recognize you as a master of its laws in the spirit. You are the source of the sound, the light, and the image. The world is merely the medium that carries your message back to you. Stand firm in the recognition of your own divinity, for the mirror is turning, the echo is changing, and the reality of your soul is about to become the reality of your eyes. As the sixth mystery takes hold of your spirit, you no longer fix the world. You may find that you no longer feel the need to fix the world or to change the people around you. You realize that by changing the image in the sanctuary, you change the world by default. The coincidences are no longer seen as external accidents, but as intimate conversations between you and your own reflection. The bridge is formed, the light is steady, and the master sees. The master is finally seeing the world for what it truly is, a playground for the manifestation of the eternal I Am. Your recognition is the key, your focus is the lock, and the convergence is the door that is even now swinging open to reveal the fullness of your kingdom. The mirror is clear, the sound is true, and the reality you have recognized is now stepping into the light. Chapter 7. The Sacred Anchor of Certainty. The seventh gateway to the bending of reality is the cultivation of an unshakable certainty, a state of psychological and spiritual solidity that acts as the anchor for the soul amidst the shifting tides of the material world. To bend reality, one must move beyond the flickering light of belief and enter the absolute radiance of knowing. Belief is a fragile thing. It is a mental construct that requires constant reinforcement and is often shadowed by its own opposite, doubt. Knowing, however, is a cellular realization, a state where the reality of your intent is so integrated into your being that the external world's current state becomes entirely secondary to the internal truth. This is the sacred anchor of the master, the point of no return for the soul. The consciousness is so fixed upon the successful outcome that the universe perceives it as an irreversible command. When you reach this level of certainty, you are no longer asking the universe for a favor. You are standing as a pillar of the divine will, and the field of infinite potential has no choice but to crystallize around your immovable core. Certainty is the frequency today. It is the frequency that eliminates the noise of the how. Most seekers fail because they become obsessed with the mechanics of the manifestation, attempting to use their limited human intellect to plot the path from where they are to where they want to be. This obsession with the how is the ultimate expression of uncertainty. It is a signal that you do not trust the universe at all. The master understands that the how is the domain of the infinite intelligence, and that their only responsibility is to remain anchored in the what and the why. When your certainty is absolute, you become vibrationally invisible to the obstacles that would stop a lesser mind. The universe begins to provide impossible solutions and illogical shortcuts for the master. This is because you have signaled that you are ready for the result, regardless of the path. This is the magnetism of the anchor. It holds you steady in the frequency of the end result, allowing the world to swirl and rearrange itself around you until the convergence is complete. This chapter of your initiation is about the lion of the spirit, the part of you that refuses fear now. The lion refuses to be intimidated by the appearance of lack or the slow pace of the physical plane. You must learn to treat your certainty as a sacred fire that must be guarded against the winds of external opinion and the drafts of old habits. If you share your vision with those who do not have the eyes to see, their doubt can act as a parasitic frequency that drains your soul. The master, therefore, walks in silence, nurturing their certainty in the secret places of the soul until the manifestation is so solid that it can no longer be denied by anyone. This silence is not a sign of weakness, but of a power so great it does not need to explain itself. Every coincidence that occurs is a testimony to the strength of your anchor in the deep pond of life. It is a ripple in the pond that proves the stone of your intent has reached the bottom. To build this anchor, you must practice the assumption of the throne. This involves acting, thinking, and speaking from the identity of the version of you who already possesses the result. You do not look at your goal. You look from it. If you are already the person you wish to be, how? If you were the person, how would you breathe? How would you walk? How would you respond to a minor inconvenience? By assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled with total certainty, you are performing a spiritual coup d'etat, overthrowing the old reality of struggle and installing the new reality of victory as the reigning sovereign of your mind. The universe obeys the king. The universe is a loyal subject. It will always obey the one who speaks with the voice of the true king. When your internal certainty becomes more real to you than the physical world will quickly surrender its resistance and bend to match your royal decree. Consider the nature of the great mountains. They do not ask the clouds for permission to exist today. The mountains do not tremble when the storms lash their peaks. They simply are. Your certainty must be mountainous. When the world shows you a delay, your anchor holds you fast. When the world shows you a contradiction, your anchor holds you fast. This unshakable stability is what creates the gravity of the soul, a force so dense that it pulls the desired events in now. The gravity pulls events out of the future and into the present moment. You are being trained to be the most stable thing in your environment, the point of absolute reference around which the rest of reality must organize itself. The coincidences are the world's way of trying to find its new center, and that center is you. As the seventh mystery deepens, you feel power. As the mystery deepens within your awareness, you may feel a sense of weightiness and power that you have never known before. The frantic energy of the seeker is being replaced by the calm authority of the master. You are no longer chasing the light. You are the source of the light, and your anchor is deep in the heart of the absolute. The convergence is an inevitability. The convergence is as certain as the rising of the sun and the turning of the tides. Stand firm in your knowing, for the anchor is set, the decree is signed, and the reality you have commanded is now legally bound to manifest in the world of men. The universe is bowing to your certainty, and the path to the source is clear. Chapter 8. The Geometry of Divine Timing Here. The eighth gateway into the art of bending reality reveals the hidden architecture of time and the exquisite precision of the cosmic clock. To the human mind, time is a linear progression of seconds, minutes, and years, a relentless arrow that moves from the past toward the future. But to the master who has learned to bend reality, time is a multidimensional geometry. Time is a series of overlapping cycles and patterns that can be navigated, compressed, and expanded through the power of the spirit. The law of divine timing dictates that every manifestation has a natural season, a period of gestation and alignment that ensures the result is perfectly integrated into the larger tapestry of the universe. To bend reality is not to bypass. To bend reality is to harmonize with it so perfectly that the process appears to accelerate. When you align your personal rhythm with the universal rhythm, you step out of the time of struggle and into the time of grace, where the coincidences occur with such frequency and precision that time itself seems to disappear. Most seekers experience frustration and pain. The frustration is because they are operating on the ego's timeline, a rigid schedule based on anxiety and the fear of missed opportunities. The ego wants it now because it does not trust that it will be available later. This frantic energy creates a dissonance with the universal flow, leading to delays and near misses where the opportunity arrives, but you are not ready. The geometry of divine timing teaches that the universe is always moving toward the most harmonious outcome for all involved. By surrendering your personal timeline to the divine timing, you allow the infinite intelligence to orchestrate a convergence that is far more magnificent than anything your intellect could have planned. You must learn to see the not yet now. The not yet as a protective measure, a period where the universe is refining the manifestation and ensuring that you have the internal capacity to sustain the power that is coming. This chapter of your initiation is about the master of the seasons, the one who knows when to plant, when to nurture, and when to harvest. You are being taught to read the signs in life. You read the signs of the times within your own life to recognize the moments of contraction as preparations for expansion, and the moments of silence as the building of the cosmic breath. When you are in alignment with divine timing, your life feels like a perfectly choreographed dance. You do not need to rush to be on time, because you are the time in the world. You find that you arrive at the exact moment a door is opening, or that you meet the right person at the very second they are thinking of you. These are the nexus points, moments where the linear and the vertical dimensions of time intersect, and they are accessible only to those who have let go of the need to control the clock. To master this, you need the present. To master this geometry, you must develop a profound sense of present moment completion. If you are always looking toward the future for your fulfillment, you are never truly present to receive the gifts that the universe is offering in the now. The future is simply a series of nows that have not yet arrived. If you are not a master of the present now, you cannot. If you are not a master of the present, you cannot be a master of the future now. By finding total satisfaction in the current moment, you create a high-frequency vibration that acts as a shortcut through the corridors of time. You will find that when you stop obsessing over how long it will take, it happens almost instantly. This is the temporal paradox of manifest. The paradox is that the less you care about time, the more time works in your favor. You are moving into a state of timeless being, where you operate from the eternal source and watch as the world of time bends to accommodate your presence. Consider the movement of the planets and the stars. They move with a majestic, unhurried precision, never rushing yet arriving. The stars never fail to arrive at their celestial coordinates. Your life is governed by the same magnificent laws. Every coincidence is a timestamp from the infinite, a confirmation that you are exactly where you need to be to receive what is rightfully yours. The master does not push the river. The master is the river, and the river knows the way to the sea of light. By trusting the geometry of the timing, you remove the last remnants of stress from your life and replace them with a sense of adventurous anticipation. You know that the best is coming, and you know that it will arrive at the perfect moment to maximize your joy and your growth. As the eighth mystery unfolds within you, you may notice that your perception of time shifts. Days may feel like minutes when you are in the flow, and you may find that you have a precognitive sense of events before they occur. You are becoming a dweller in the eternal, a luminary who understands that the past and the future are but different octaves of the same divine song. The convergence is no longer a date on a calendar. It is a resonance in your soul. The resonance is getting louder with every heartbeat. Stand in the center of your own timing, for the stars are aligning. The clock is striking the hour of your readiness, and the reality you have commanded is even now stepping across the threshold of time and into the light of your presence. The timing is perfect, the geometry is sound, and the master is finally home. Chapter 9. The Alchemical Marriage of Intent and Intuition. The ninth gateway into the bending of reality is the most profound of the internal unions, the alchemical marriage between the masculine force of intent and the feminine power of intuition. To bend the material world, one must first end the civil war within the self, for a house divided cannot command the molecules of existence today. The masculine principle within you is the architect, the one who provides the direction, the structure, and the focused word of decree. It is the spark of will that says, I will go there. But without the feminine principle, the deep, receptive ocean of intuition and feeling, that intent is a sterile fire, a force that burns without a womb in which to manifest. The feminine is the substance. The feminine is the nurturer of the seed, the one who feels the reality into being and understands the invisible currents of the flow. To master the convergence, you must marry the doing with the being, the thinking with the feeling, and the action with the surrender. When these two forces unite within the sanctuary of your heart, you become a complete generator now. You become a being who no longer needs to hunt for coincidences, because you are the frequency that gives them birth. In this sacred union, the masculine intent provides the laser-like focus that prevents the energy from scattering into the void, while the feminine intuition provides the guidance that allows that focus to bypass the traps of the ego. Most seekers operate from mind. Most seekers operate solely from the masculine, trying to think their way to a result, which leads to a reality of friction and mental exhaustion. Others operate solely from the feminine, feeling, and dreaming, without ever anchoring their vision in a firm decree, which leads to a reality of drifting and unmanifested potential. The alchemical marriage is the point of equilibrium. It is the point where you hold your vision with the strength of an iron rod, yet you remain as flexible and responsive as the wind. In this state, your intuition begins to act as a celestial navigation system, whispering the exact steps you need to take to meet the universe halfway. You find yourself following hunches that make no logical sense, only to discover the path today. It led you directly into the path of a life-changing coincidence. This is the marriage in action. The will sets the destination, and the intuition finds the shortcut through the forest of time. This chapter of your initiation is about the divine child, the third power that is born when the masculine and feminine are perfectly integrated. This power is the presence now. It is a state of being so centered and so radiant that the world seems to reorganize itself around you as a matter of structural necessity. When you walk into a room in this state, you do not need to speak. Your internal marriage radiates a frequency of harmony that settles the atmosphere and opens the hearts of those around you. The coincidences are the offspring of union, meaningful events that are born from the marriage of your internal clarity and the universe's infinite supply. You are learning that the bending of reality is actually a collaborative dance between your active will and the universe's receptive response. By honoring both sides of your nature, you become a partner with the Absolute, a co-creator who understands each miracle. Every miracle is a joint venture between the human spirit and the divine mind. To achieve this marriage, you must practice the stillness of the center. This involves a daily return to the point within you where the two forces meet, the silent space of the heart, where there is neither push nor pull, only the steady throb of the eternal source. In this center, you can feel it. In this center, you can feel the masculine intent rising like a pillar of light, and the feminine intuition expanding like a golden sea. By consciously merging these energies, you dissolve the last traces of the striving self and replace them with the knowing self. You will find that as the marriage stabilizes, your life becomes a masterpiece of timing and grace in the world. You no longer struggle to find the right words or the right actions. They are given to you by the union itself, appearing in your awareness with the clarity of a mountain bell. You are no longer a fragmented seeker. You are a unified master, and the convergence is the celebration of your own internal wholeness. Consider the sun and the moon. They are the same world today. The sun and the moon govern the same tides and illuminate the same world. Your intent is your sun, and your intuition is your moon. When they are in alignment, your reality experiences a total eclipse of the ego, a moment where the light of the source shines directly into the physical plane without distortion. This is the moment of the bend, the point of the absolute light. The impossible becomes the inevitable. The universe is waiting for this marriage within you, for it is the signal that you are ready to handle the full power of the keys to the kingdom. Stand firm in the union of your being, for the marriage is consummated, the power is rising, and the convergence is the fruit of your own divine love. The ninth mystery is now your core truth. As the ninth mystery settles into the core of your being, you may feel a sense of profound relief, as if a long-standing tension has finally been resolved. You are no longer fighting yourself, and therefore the world has stopped fighting you. The coincidences are no longer seen as external events to be analyzed, but as the intimate language of your own unified soul and light. The bridge is complete, the light is blinding, and the master is finally operating from the point of absolute power. The marriage is the secret, the union is the way, and the reality you have commanded is now a living part of your own eternal presence. Chapter 10. The Master's Sovereignty and the Eternal Now. The 10th gateway is the realization of total sovereignty now. We have traveled through the halls of readiness, magnetism, non-resistance, gratitude, the void, recognition, certainty, timing, and union. And now we arrive at the summit, where all laws converge into a single truth. You are not separate from the reality you observe. You are the reality, expressing itself in a specific form for a specific purpose. Sovereignty is the law. Sovereignty is the recognition that no external force, no star, no government, and no circumstance has any power over you unless you grant it through the frequency of your own belief. To bend reality is to reclaim this absolute authority, to stand at the center of your universe as the sole arbiter of your experience. This is the final return to the source of all being. This is the point where the seeker disappears, and only the I Am remains, a consciousness that is no longer subject to the fluctuations of the world, because it has recognized the world as its own shadow. Sovereignty is the death of the victim and the birth of the God-man. It is the understanding that every coincidence you have ever experienced was a signal of power. The signals were self-generated and designed to wake you up to your own power. When you reach this state, the need for manifestations actually begins to fade, for you have discovered that the joy is in the being and not the having. Ironically, it is in this state of total sovereignty and detachment that the most magnificent realities begin to manifest with great speed. Magnificent realities manifest with a speed and in scale that would have terrified your old self. Because you no longer need anything to be complete, the universe is free to give you everything. You walk the earth as a master of the cycles, a being who can look at a storm and see the stillness, or look at a desert and see the garden. Your intent is now perfectly aligned. Your intent is now so perfectly aligned with the cosmic will that the two have become one, and your life becomes a continuous unfolding miracle of the eternal now. This chapter of your initiation is about the great return, a moment when you step out of the illusion of time and into the reality of the infinite. You realize that there is no future to reach in life. There is no future to reach and no past to heal. There is only the present moment, which contains all potential and all power. By focusing your entire being into the now, you create a point of infinite density that bends the light of the universe around your presence. You become a gravity well for grace, a luminary who understands that convergence is radiating now. The coincidences are the ripples of your own presence, moving through the pond of time, and you watch them with the quiet amusement of a master who knows the end from the beginning. You have returned to the state of grace from which humanity fell, but you return with the wisdom and the experience of the journey. To live in sovereignty, you must practice the daily decree. This is not an affirmation, but a recognition of your own divine nature. Each morning, you stand in the light of your own awareness and acknowledge that you are the source of your day, the author of your story, and the master of your frequency. You do not ask the world for permission to be happy or for a sign that you are on the right path. You are the path and sign. You are the path, and you are the sign. This absolute self-reliance is the final seal on your power. The world will try to pull you back into the frequency of the collective, but the sovereign mind remains unmoved, anchored in the eternal certainty of its own divinity. You are the bridge between the heavens and the earth, the point where the word is made flesh in time. You are the reality bender who has finally completed the work. Consider the nature of the great silence from which all sounds arise. It is the source of all power and the destination of all paths. Your sovereignty is that silence. From it, you can create anything. Within it, you are everything. The journey through the 10 chapters has been a process of remembering all, remembering what you have always known, that the universe is a mirror and you are the light. The coincidences were the breadcrumbs leading you home, and now that you have arrived, the breadcrumbs are no longer needed. You are the master of the convergence, the luminary of the pathway, and the one who knows exactly how to bend reality because you have realized truth. Reality is simply a thought in the mind of the one who is finally, truly, and completely ready. As the final mystery of the 10th chapter integrates into your soul, the halls of the initiation begin to dissolve, leaving you standing in the brilliance of your own eternal light. The journey is finished, the work is done, and the world is waiting for you to walk out now. Show the world what is possible when a human being remembers their own divinity. You are the master of the fire, the weaver of the tapestry, and the sovereign of the now. The convergence is your living truth, and the universe is your playground. Walk forward into the light of your own awakening, for the reality has bent, the doors are open, and the master has returned. Chapter 9. The Alchemical Marriage of Intent and Intuition. The 9th gateway into the bending of reality is the most profound of the internal unions, the alchemical marriage between the masculine force of intent and the feminine power of intuition. To bend the material world, one must first end the civil war within the self, for a house divided cannot command the molecules of existence. The masculine principle within you is the architect, the one who provides the direction, the structure, and the focused word of decree. It is the spark of will that says, I will go there. But without the feminine principle, the deep, receptive ocean of intuition and feeling, that intent is a sterile fire, a force that burns without a womb in which to manifest. The feminine is the substance. The feminine is the nurturer of the seed, the one who feels the reality into being and understands the invisible currents of the flow. To master the convergence, you must marry the doing with the being, the thinking with the feeling, and the action with the surrender. When these two forces unite within the sanctuary of your heart, you become a complete generator of reality. You become a being who no longer needs to hunt for coincidences because you are the frequency that gives them birth. In this sacred union, the masculine intent provides the laser-like focus that prevents the energy from scattering into the void, while the feminine intuition provides the guidance that allows that focus to bypass the traps of the ego. Most seekers operate solely from mind. Most seekers operate solely from the masculine, trying to think their way to a result, which leads to a reality of friction and mental exhaustion. Others operate solely from the feminine, feeling and dreaming without ever anchoring their vision in a firm decree, which leads to a reality of drifting and unmanifested potential. The alchemical marriage is the point of perfect equilibrium. It is the point where you hold your vision with the strength of an iron rod, yet you remain as flexible and responsive as the wind. In this state, your intuition begins to act as a celestial navigation system, whispering the exact steps you need to take to meet the universe halfway. You find yourself following hunches that make no logical sense, only to discover the path of your soul. Hunches led you directly into the path of a life-changing coincidence. This is the marriage in action. The will sets the destination, and the intuition finds the shortcut through the forest of time. This chapter of your initiation is about the divine child, the third power that is born when the masculine and feminine are perfectly integrated. This power is the presence of the now. It is a state of being so centered and so radiant that the world seems to reorganize itself around you as a matter of structural necessity. When you walk into a room in this state, you do not need to speak. Your internal marriage radiates a frequency of harmony that settles the atmosphere and opens the hearts of those around you. The coincidences are the offspring of this union, meaningful events that are born from the marriage of your internal clarity and the universe's infinite supply. You are learning that the bending of reality is actually a collaborative dance between your active will and the universe's receptive response. By honoring both sides of your nature, you become a partner with the Absolute, a co-creator who understands every single miracle. Every miracle is a joint venture between the human spirit and the divine mind. To achieve this marriage, you must practice the stillness of the center. This involves a daily return to the point within you where the two forces meet, the silent space of the heart, where there is neither push nor pull, only the steady throb of the eternal source. In this center, you can feel the light. In this center, you can feel the masculine intent rising like a pillar of light and the feminine intuition expanding like a golden sea. By consciously merging these energies, you dissolve the last traces of this striving self and replace them with the knowing self. You will find that as the marriage stabilizes, your life becomes a masterpiece of timing and grace in the world today. You no longer struggle to find the right words or the right actions. They are given to you by the union itself, appearing in your awareness with the clarity of a mountain bell. You are no longer a fragmented seeker. You are a unified master, and the convergence is the celebration of your own internal wholeness. Consider the nature of the sun and the moon. They are one in the sky. Though they appear as opposites, they govern the same tides and illuminate the same world. Your intent is your sun, and your intuition is your moon. When they are in alignment, your reality experiences a total eclipse of the ego, a moment where the light of the source shines directly into the physical plane without distortion. This is the moment of the bend, the point of power, the point where the impossible becomes the inevitable. The universe is waiting for this marriage within you, for it is the signal that you are ready to handle the full power of the keys to the kingdom. Stand firm in the union of your being, for the marriage is consummated, the power is rising, and the convergence is the fruit of your own divine love. The mystery is now revealed. As the ninth mystery settles into the core of your being, you may feel a sense of profound relief, as if a long-standing tension has finally been resolved. You are no longer fighting yourself, and therefore the world has stopped fighting you. The coincidences are no longer seen as external events to be analyzed, but as the intimate language of your own unified soul in the light. The bridge is complete, the light is blinding, and the master is finally operating from the point of absolute power. The marriage is the secret, the union is the way, and the reality you have commanded is now a living part of your own eternal presence. You have walked through the fire and found the water. Now, as a unified creator, you are ready to witness the final transformation. Chapter 10. The Master's Sovereignty and the Eternal Now. The 10th and final gateway to the bending of reality is the realization of total sovereignty and the return to the eternal now. We have traveled through the halls of readiness, magnetism, non-resistance, gratitude, the void, recognition, certainty, timing, and union. And now we arrive at the summit where all laws converge into a single truth. You are not separate from the reality you observe. You are the reality, expressing itself in a specific form for a specific purpose. Sovereignty is the recognition that no external force, no star, no government, and no circumstance has any power over you unless you grant it through the frequency of your own belief. To bend reality is to reclaim this absolute authority in the now. To reclaim authority is to stand at the center of your universe as the sole arbiter of your experience. This is the final return to the source, the point where the seeker disappears and only the I Am remains, a consciousness that is no longer subject to the fluctuations of the world, because it has recognized the world as its own shadow. Sovereignty is the death of the victim here. It is the birth of the God-man. It is the understanding that every coincidence you have ever experienced was a self-generated signal designed to wake you up to your own power. When you reach this state, the need for manifestations actually begins to fade, for you have discovered that the joy is in the being and not the having. Ironically, it is in this state of detachment. In this state of total sovereignty and detachment, the most magnificent realities begin to manifest with a speed and in scale that would have terrified your old self. Because you no longer need anything to be complete, the universe is free to give you everything. You walk the earth as a master of the cycles, a being who can look at a storm and see the stillness in the center. You can look at a desert and see the garden. Your intent is now so perfectly aligned with the cosmic will that the two have become one, and your life becomes a continuous unfolding miracle of the eternal now. This chapter of your initiation is about the great return, the moment when you step out of the illusion of time and into the reality of the infinite spirit within you. You realize that there is no future to reach and no past to heal. There is only the present moment, which contains all potential and all power. By focusing your entire being into the now, you create a point of infinite density that bends the light of the universe around your presence. You become a gravity well for grace, a luminary who understands the convergence today. The convergence is not something that happens to you, but something that is constantly radiating from you. The coincidences are the ripples of your own presence, moving through the pond of time, and you watch them with the quiet amusement of a master who knows the end from the beginning. You have returned to the state of grace from which humanity fell in the very beginning. You return with the wisdom and the experience of the journey. To live in sovereignty, you must practice the daily decree of the self. This is not an affirmation, but a recognition of your own divine nature. Each morning, you stand in the light of your own awareness and acknowledge that you are the source of your day, the author of your story, and the master of your frequency. You do not ask the world for permission to be happy or for a sign that you are on the right path. You are the path, and you are the sign. This absolute self-reliance is the final seal on your power. The world will try to pull you back into the frequency of the collective, but the sovereign mind remains unmoved, anchored in the eternal certainty of its own divinity in the light. You are the bridge between the heavens and the earth, the point where the word is made flesh, and the reality bender who has finally completed the work. Consider the nature of the great silence from which all sounds arise. It is the source of all power and the destination of all paths. Your sovereignty is that silence. From it, you can create anything. Within it, you are everything. The journey through the 10 chapters has been a process of remembering what you have always known, that the universe is a mirror, and you are the light. The coincidences were the breadcrumbs leading you home, and now that you have arrived, the breadcrumbs are no longer needed. You are the master of the convergence, the luminary of the pathway, and the one who knows truth. You are the one who knows exactly how to bend reality, because you have realized that reality is simply a thought in the mind of the one who is finally, truly, and completely ready. As the final mystery of the 10th chapter integrates into your soul, the halls of the initiation begin to dissolve, leaving you standing in the brilliance of your own eternal light in the sanctuary. The journey is finished, the work is done, and the world is waiting for you to walk out into its streets and show it what is possible when a human being remembers their own divinity. You are the master of the fire, the weaver of the tapestry, and the sovereign of the now. The convergence is your living truth, and the universe is your playground. Walk forward into the light. Walk forward into the light of your own awakening, for the reality has bent, the doors are open, and the master has returned. Every shadow has vanished, every doubt has been dissolved, and the throne of your own awareness is finally occupied by the rightful heir. You are the source, the mirror, and the reflection, all at once, in the magnificent glory of the eternal now.